Am I the a-hole for calling the cops on my dad's pregnant girlfriend or maybe wife? I, 17 male, live full-time with my mom. My dad was never even a part-time dad. He was a see you once or twice a year dad who didn't even devote that time to me. Sometimes, the only reason we saw each other was because my grandparents, his parents, included me in their lives. They both died a couple of years ago. The last 2 times I saw my dad, he brought along his girlfriend, who I had known about the first time, and her kids. The first time, I spent the weekend with them, and the second time it was just a day. The last time was 8 or 9 months ago. I told him I didn't want him to keep showing up, and he seemed totally eager to agree to that. As soon as that happened, his girlfriend started seeking me out. We live in a small town, so it's not that hard, but she would make a point to cross over to speak to me, and she would ask if I'd like to hang out more with her much younger kids. I said no, and I told her, though not exactly like this, that I didn't want contact with my dad anymore, so it didn't make sense for us to have contact either. She told me she'd like me to be a part of the family and to give it a shot now that she and the kids are around. I said I had already made up my mind. She kept seeking me out, trying to make me give them a chance. I tried to be nice and told her I just had no interest when my dad made no effort to be near me. She even started approaching my mom, who after a few times got so annoyed that she told her to stay away from the 2 of us if she didn't want the cops and lawyers to get involved. Then she showed up at our house a few times. She came to tell me she was pregnant. She wanted to invite me to a big family lunch with her side and some relatives on his side. She came by to ask if I'd want to go to the park with her and her kids, and the kids would be standing there. One time, she told them I was her brother and wouldn't it be so cool to go to the park together? She usually left after being told to once or twice, but she kept coming back, so my mom got security cameras. She asked my mom another day if she could take me away for the day for something special, and my mom closed the door in her face. My mom talked to her lawyer and a cop she knows, and they told her to document everything and only call the cops if we clearly asked her to leave and she wouldn't, which is what happened on Saturday. I was home alone, and she showed up with her kids looking for me to come over and spend the day with them. I told her no and asked her to leave, and I did it again more forcefully before I ended up calling the cops. When the cops showed up, she was arguing that she's my stepmom and that she's married to my dad, not sure if that's true or not, and has the right to show up at my home. Her kids were getting more upset the longer the whole thing dragged on, so they had to arrest her. My dad got on my mom's case hard about it, and she had to come home early to make sure I was okay. One of those times, you could hear his girlfriend or wife crying in the background about what I did to her and her kids. She was so loud I could hear her through the phone. He won't stop calling, and my mom is recording stuff in case we need it. She checked to make sure it was okay first. But they're saying I'm an awful person for calling the cops on a pregnant woman like that, and that I should have just talked to her. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole LOL. She'd have continued to harass you until she was stopped. It was also up to her to account for the fact that she's pregnant, not you. She's looking for a built-in babysitter. She should have accounted for the possibility that OP, who's repeatedly told her to get lost, wouldn't be willing to babysit. You can't control Peter's time by shagging Paul. Not the a-hole, but it sounds like you did talk to her and she didn't pay attention. Try to stop paying attention to the flying monkeys. The lawyer knows what he is talking about. Keep calling the cops. Do not speak to her. Answer her phone calls or texts. Do not open the door or step outside to talk to her. She sounds like the kind of crazy who will start accusing you of things you did not do when she doesn't get her way. That was something I was a little afraid of when she refused to leave. I talked to her through the door and didn't open it to her. Maybe she would have just stood there trying to talk me around, but I didn't want her to go batshit on the house or me. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to move into my fiancé's mother's house? Until 2 months ago, my fiancé and I were living in a rented house that cost about $2,400 a month. I paid all of it and the bills. For over a year, she has also been a stay-at-home mom since the birth of our son. However, she hated that house. To be honest, I don't think any of her reasons were particularly valid. But I agreed, and we planned on finding another place while I get ready to buy a house at the end of the year. In the meantime, her mom and stepdad bought a house in a different city and moved far away. The house they own where we live is fully paid off, so they invited us to move into her house so we could continue paying the bills like insurance, property tax, and all the other stuff, but that would cost us somewhat less than what we were paying at the rented house. I was against it at first because I felt like moving into her mother's house would not really feel like home. I would always feel like I had something hanging over my head, and I didn't want it to be used against me in the future. Because at the end of the day, I can take care of all my bills. After her mother talked to me about it, I agreed to move in. A week before we moved in, my fiancé and I had an argument, and she said she did not want me to move in with her to her mom's house anymore, and that she would go by herself. I ended up staying at my parents' house. 2 months in, she now hates staying at her mom's house. She and her little brother don't get along too well. He lives there too, and her having to manage him. He is 18 but acts like a toddler, to be honest, and the pets feels overwhelming. Now she's begging me to move into the house. I do not want to, and I will not do that. I feel like the only reason she wants me there is because she realizes the amount of work I was doing around the house, and now she has to do it all alone. I did most of the cooking and paid for a cleaning lady to clean for us, things she now has to do herself. Currently, we share time with the baby 2 days at a time. Even though I work full-time, hybrid, I always manage to put in half the work when it comes to the baby. Some days when I go to work, the baby stays with my mom, who is retired. In the last few days, she has gotten so desperate to have me live with her again that she already wants to move out of her mother's house and for us to get an apartment. I'm not keen on that either. To be honest, I feel happier not living with her. No more nagging, no more constant complaining about everything. She wants me to move in, but I actually don't see myself living with her again. Not having her around has somewhat made me realize how depressed I was around her. The only reason you might possibly be the a-hole is the fact that you are still calling her your fiancé when you clearly no longer want to be with her at any level. Man up and cut her loose. This is what I was thinking. That sounds like a breakup, but she just doesn't know it yet. Be honest and man up, tell her the truth. Not the a-hole. File for an official custody order with the courts and break up. You want to file before you tell her so that you are able to maintain 50-50 custody of the child. And save to buy your house free of entanglements. She doesn't want a partner as much as the things the partner provides. Stay-at-home mom is a proper job, but it means you look after the house as well as the baby. My mom had me and my sister close together, so she stayed home until we started school. She'd pop us both in a playpen while she cleaned the house or made dinner. Dad helped where he could, but he worked 12 to 14-hour days, 6 or 7 days a week, to provide for our needs. The poor man was exhausted all the time. OP, you had a lucky escape. She made the choice to distance herself, and you discovered how horrible the relationship was once you had some space. The only one you need to worry about is your son. Go to court, get a formal custody and child maintenance order in place, and don't let your ex wheedle her way back into your life. Her days of being a pampered princess are over. Her parents played a blinder. They couldn't deal with her brother, so they up and moved and tricked her into moving in with him. Now she's stuck looking after 2 infants. Well played, parents. Well played. Next story. Am I the a-hole for setting boundaries with my mom after she invited 30 people to our Airbnb? Last year, my parents rented a cottage on the lake we grew up on. My family and I, 2 adults and 3 kids, went to visit for the day and had such a great time that we all decided to rent a bigger cottage in my name, this is important, for all of us for a week the following year. Unfortunately, in December, my dad passed away. He was a simple man, never wanted a service, just to be cremated and have his ashes spread at the lake. Talked it over with Mom, and we decided to do family only. With grandkids, there'd be 15 of us, for one day at the lake to remember Dad. This included my sister, who I barely talk to and who has never met my kids, staying for 2 nights. Not ideal, but it's family. Well, next week is the rental, and Mom starts talking about salads and appetizers and deli platters. For 15 people? Negative ghostwriter. Turns out she has invited an additional 20 people for this get-together to a house I rented and signed for when the agreement specifically says no events or parties. One of those people is my sister's boyfriend, who my mom informed me is staying with us. I've never met this man, and I've got 3 kids. 13-year-old female, 11-year-old female, and 8-year-old male sleeping in this house. I lost it, said no. Told her I would be happy to rent a hall and have it there, but not at the house. She insisted it wouldn't be a problem, and that if someone made a fuss and told the owners, she would talk to them and it would be fine. I told her no, I would transfer the rental to her name and she could do what she wants, and I'd take my family somewhere else. So, am I the a-hole for not letting my mom throw a huge party at a rental house and not letting my estranged sister and her boyfriend stay with us? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Your mom was totally inappropriate to invite so many people, especially without asking you first. Doubly so because your rental agreement forbids it. The rental company could refuse to rent to her again if she violates their rules. But she said if there was a problem, she'd just talk to them LOL. As someone who has an Airbnb in my neighborhood, I can tell you it very much matters that the renters follow the rules, and big issues like a prohibited party can cause big problems for everyone. It is not fair to the owner, to the town that licensed the rental, or to the neighbors who live there. It is also not fair to all these guests to invite them to an event where they are breaking rules just by being there and parking there. Your mom is being unreasonable. There are Airbnb rules for lots of good reasons, and she doesn't get to decide she can break them just because she wants to. You made excellent suggestions for other ways to do it, but she didn't listen, so you're not the a-hole. What gets me is that the mom thinks she can just talk to whomever and everything will be hunky-dory. She's living in her own entitled world with her rose-colored glasses on. Absolutely not. You rented the house, your name is on the agreement, and you're the one who could get fined, kicked out, or banned from future rentals if it goes sideways. Your mom inviting 30 people like it's her property is completely out of line, especially when the listing explicitly says no events. And trying to slide your sister's random boyfriend into the house without asking, with your kids there? That's not a family gathering. That's your mom hijacking a memorial and turning it into her own social event. She had every opportunity ahead of time to plan something appropriate elsewhere, but instead, she tried to steamroll you and hoped you'd just go along with it. Not the a-hole in the slightest. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give any of the $10,000 my grandpa gave me to my younger sister? I, 18 male, recently graduated from high school. A couple of weeks after graduation, my grandfather invited me on a weekend trip to his place on the East Coast. For context, my grandfather is extremely wealthy. He used to work on Wall Street as a stockbroker, and now he's a venture capitalist. The trip was amazing. He drove us out there in his Rolls-Royce, and he has a very nice villa by the water. We went sailing on his yacht, ate at some nice restaurants, and watched movies. It was honestly a great bonding experience overall. On the last day, he surprised me with a $10,000 gift for graduating and getting into college. I was shocked and super grateful. I thanked him, must have been at least 100,000 times on the way home, and told him I'd be putting it toward college expenses. He liked that idea. However, when I got back home and told my mom about the gift, I expected her to be happy, or at least say, "Wow, that's amazing." Instead, she said, "I think you should give it to your younger sister. I think she needs it." Now, my younger sister, 16 female, is, quite frankly, the most spoiled brat I've ever met in my entire life. She gets anything she wants whenever she wants it. Besides being spoiled, my sister is genuinely a horrible person. She's had 2 boyfriends, both of whom she cheated on and manipulated into thinking it was their fault. She lies to my parents about getting drunk, lies about how much she spends on alcohol, lies about smoking weed, even though it's obvious, damaged her car while driving drunk, stole money from my parents, stole money from me, and let her friends drive my car and my parents' car multiple times. Despite all this, my parents never punish her. She's also failing most of her classes, does nothing around the house, and either sits in her room all day, doom scrolling and smoking weed, or goes out getting absolutely hammered with her friends. So when my mom said that, I was livid. I told her that my sister didn't deserve any of the money and that I'd need it for college. I also added that my sister would probably just blow it on alcohol or drugs. My mom fired back that all college kids waste money on booze and that my sister could really use it for her studies and gas money. To reiterate, she's basically failing every class. Later that night, my mom sent me a long text suggesting a compromise, that I give my sister half of the money. She argued that $10,000 is a lot for one person, and I'd still have $5,000 left. I said absolutely not. My sister hasn't done anything to deserve it. I reiterated that she's constantly lying and being irresponsible, and I'm not rewarding that. Now since this whole thing, my sister's been acting slightly better. She'll do a chore here and there, and she offered to drive me somewhere last week, which she's never done before. But I think it's all an act because she knows about the money now. My mom thinks I'm being selfish and greedy and keeps telling me I don't know how to manage money anyway, and that her compromise is entirely fair. But I genuinely think it would be wrong to give her any of it. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to give my sister any of the $10,000? Not the a-hole, but your mom is. And since your first response was to use it for college, obviously you are responsible with money. You're 18, and your mom can't force you to give up any money. Plus, if Grandpa wanted sis to have some money, he'd have given it to her. Not the a-hole. OP, a lot of times banks might require a co-signer on a checking/savings account. Ask to see if your grandpa will co-sign an account that a credit union, they generally don't have monthly fees, and put the money in there. If you put it in an account that your mom helped create, then she can legally take the money. Thanks for the advice. My grandpa was actually the one to drive me back, and he helped me open a separate account at a local credit union with my grandpa himself as the joint account holder. The account is solely in our names, so my mom can't touch it. I made sure it's a no-fee student account with limited withdrawal access just to be safe. And to the people worried about my mother stealing the money, she's not that deranged. She's definitely pushy about the money, but she's not at all the type to steal it. Sounds like Grandpa knows exactly what is going on with your mom and sister. Talk to him.